right? Now, let's explore how your data is captured, shared, and monetized in ways that are not related to your actual activity, right? In ways that you might not be thinking about. One way is simply by engaging in digital activity. You might immediately think about I should say, activity taking place on a social media platform like posting photos or downloading an app, playing a game, taking a quiz. But how about outside of social media, like filing your taxes? And I mentioned that because earlier this month, it turns out that H&R Block, Tax Act, and Tax Slayer wanted to improve their ability to market to its clients. So they installed some code on their website to capture visitor activity. Now, this is relatively common practice, folks. Every website does this. So this isn't atypical for them. But the nature of the activity is not equal across all corporate websites when you think about the sensitivity of the data that's being handled. So someone going in and signing up for a newsletter to be alerted of a video game coming out versus someone going to a website and entering their tax information, it's different, but you use these codes, right? So some companies have to assess the risk accordingly when you're thinking about deploying technology on your digital assets. Now, these tax companies decided to deploy codes from Meta and Google. Meta is the parent company of Facebook. Again, we discussed it a couple episodes ago. And by doing so over the course of 2 years, they've shared with those two tech giants tens of millions of taxpayer of data on taxpayers. So they shared data of tens of millions of taxpayer data with Meta, with Google over the course of 2 years, including filing status, income, refund amounts, names of dependents, approximate federal tax owed, which buttons were pressed on the tax preparers' websites, and the names of text entry forms that the taxpayer navigated.
That's messed up. That's messed up. And
it's a lot of information.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing that sucks about this. I'm imagining that the user agreed to all of this because it was in the fine print of some incredibly long documentation that you had to click OK in order to get your taxes filed. Does it even mention that?
It doesn't. And you know what? That's not necessarily true. Okay. If they because what it sounds like is that they didn't know. They themselves, the corporations, did not understand the technology they were deploying and didn't know that Meta and Google would be scraping this information, that the information would be sent to them. It sounds like they just didn't.
Wow. Okay.
And it was just a fundamental misunderstanding of the data flow.
Okay.
And so it could have been, if they knew about it, yes, they would have updated their T's and C's. Maybe, not when it comes to what you're clicking. That would be more of like when you first go in and it says, do you accept these cookies? Do you want to do this stuff? Right.
I'm wondering.
You pick. Yeah. Do people read that? No. If they read it, would they even understand it? No.
So it's yeah. I mean, first of all, we could go on a whole long rant about that. I feel like everybody who has ever come across one, which is 99% of people, always thinks that. It's like so. It's so hilarious that our governments would work so hard to talk about doing data protection, only for it to amount to a long 1,000-word essay with legal jargon that you would have to be a trained lawyer within the tech space in order to even begin to comprehend what it is you're actually saying okay to. And the companies are allowed to just do that as a wall to something that you just need. Like, I need to do taxes right now. I don't have time to think about what is being put in front of me before I click OK. And anyone who says you should read it and you should make a choice, how can you have a choice when every single tax prep company out there is going to be doing the exact same thing unless you have enough resources and money to go to like a boutique tax specialist,
or you do it yourself.
Even doing it yourself, because first of all, we don't have to get into this, but the government, it's what's it, TurboTax and all those things make it very difficult for you to figure out how to do it yourself. The government's trying to remedy that by making a tax app or a tax website that people will be allowed to do, which is being critiqued by certain players in the space as to the government trying to take your money and take over whatever. It's a whole other thing. Anyway, the point is that I can't believe that the solution from anyone was to throw up a ball of legalese for everyone to click through, and that is your choice. You either don't want it or you want whatever they're selling, and you have to go through this wall. I just think it's just so it's absurd to put that on the user to find a workaround if they don't want their data to be sold or taken by a particular corporation or entity. Anyway, everyone knows this. Everyone feels the same way. This is just something that
If
we've
you
been
don't, you
leveled
should.
against,
If
leveled
you
against
don't,
us.
if you've clicked OK because you just want to get to the next screen and you really
Yeah,
don't even know what you're facing, because we're in business, we kind of know what that is. Maybe some people don't. I mean, that's an assumption. So if you
even
don't
people
know
who
what
know
that
what
is,
it
you're
is,
you're agreeing.
you're
You're
agreeing.
agreeing to share the data that you enter in a sense. You're agreeing for them to put things on your computer too in some cases.
It's
So
your sometimes it's your bank account. It's your freaking bank. What am I supposed to do? Pick another
yeah,
bank?
there's nothing you can. I no, there's nothing you can do, and I think that's kind of the point of raising awareness for all of this.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Go ahead.
there's a
Yeah.
that it's a lot of sensitive data, folks. Again, H&R Block, Tax Act, Tax Slayer. If you did use those sites, you should be a little concerned if it impacts you. But do not forget, right? I don't want you to lose sight over the super sensitive data that was shared with those two companies. But don't forget, these codes, like we said before, are used everywhere. Like if it's not those two companies, it's someone else. There's plenty of web analytics services out there. These codes are on every website that you're visiting. So all the interaction, all the profile data that you have, all the behavioral data that you exhibit by clicking and searching and all these different things you can do, downloading
By existing online.
by
Basically
existing
by just
online.
existing online, which we another whole conversation should just be a right and should just be anyway. Yeah, by existing in a
So
space that it is almost detrimental to your health and your future to ignore. It's not like you can live without being online in modern society, or at least modern Western society.